Every successful startup begins as a guess. The question is not whether the guess is right, it's whether you can test it before you run out of time and money. This is the essence of customer discovery, a systematic method to turn a founder's vision into testable hypotheses, validate them with real evidence, and find a business model that actually works. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll walk through the entire process, from defining what a startup really is, through market sizing, business model canvases, problem interviews, MVPs, and real case studies of companies that got it right. Here's the fundamental idea that changes everything. A startup is not a smaller version of a big company. Big companies execute known business models. Startups search for unknown ones. That distinction is the entire reason customer development exists. When you're searching, you don't know who your customer is, what they'll pay for, or how to reach them. Your job is not to build the perfect product on day one. Your job is to run experiments that reduce uncertainty. Every hypothesis you test, whether it succeeds or fails, teaches you something about where the real opportunity lies. Let's lock in the definition from the source material. A startup is a temporary organization in search of a scalable, repeatable, and profitable business model. 3 key words there. Scalable means the business can grow without proportional increases in cost. Repeatable means you can reliably acquire customers through a consistent process. Profitable means the unit economics work. The customer development method guides this search systematically, and it helps mitigate the biggest risk startups face, building something nobody wants. The method has 4 stages, and the first one, customer discovery, is where everything begins. Customer development has 4 stages, and they follow a logical sequence. Stage 1 is customer discovery. Translate the founder's vision into testable business model hypotheses. Stage 2 is customer validation. Test whether that business model is repeatable and scalable. Stage 3 is customer creation. Establish market demand, product position, and drive adoption. Stage 4 is company building. Transition from the search mode into an organization designed for execution. Most startups fail because they skip straight to stage 4. They build a company around an untested idea. The method forces you to prove each stage before moving to the next. Underpinning all 4 stages is the build, measure, learn feedback loop. The idea is simple. Build a minimum viable product, the smallest thing you can create that starts the learning process. Then measure how customers actually respond. Then learn whether to persevere or pivot. The loop turns assumptions into knowledge. Each cycle should be as fast as possible. If you spend 6 months building a product before showing it to anyone, you've wasted 6 months if the assumptions are wrong. The MVP is not a half-baked product. It's the fastest way to get through the loop and generate real evidence. Before you build anything, you need to understand the market you're entering. Market opportunity assessment involves 2 types of research. Primary research is new data you collect yourself: surveys, interviews, experiments. Secondary research uses existing data from other sources: industry reports, census data, competitor analysis. The source material emphasizes doing both qualitative and quantitative research, and doing it both online and in person. Don't rely on a single data source. Triangulate. The goal is to determine whether the market is large enough to be profitable, and what type of market you're entering. 3 key estimates define your market size. Total addressable market, or TAM, is the maximum possible demand for your product or service, the entire universe of potential customers. Served addressable market, or SAM, is the portion of the TAM that your product actually targets and that your sales channels can feasibly reach. Target market is the specific group of consumers you aim to serve first, your beachhead. For example, if you're building a tutoring app, the TAM might be all students worldwide. The SAM might be high school students in English-speaking countries with internet access. The target market might be juniors preparing for college entrance exams in the US. There are two ways to estimate market size, and they serve different purposes. Top-down analysis starts with the total market and narrows down to your predicted share. It's useful for telling a compelling story to investors, but it can be dangerously optimistic. You might assume a tiny percentage of a huge market, but that tiny percentage could still be unrealistic. Bottom-up analysis starts with one unit, one customer, one sale, and scales outward based on realistic assumptions. How many customers can you actually reach? What's your conversion rate? Bottom-up is harder to do, but it's grounded in reality. Smart founders do both and compare the results. Let's see how this works in practice. Entrepreneurship is a deep tech robotics company. The founders conducted 60 to 70 formal interviews and spoke with 400 to 500 industry contacts before writing a line of code. Here's what they discovered. First, they identified that grocery and retail had high adoption barriers, too much complexity, too little ROI. Second, they found that manufacturing companies had already tried deploying robots but failed because the software wasn't reliable enough. Third, they realized the urgent need was not better hardware. It was software that made existing hardware work reliably. Entrepreneurship used a beachhead strategy. Instead of trying to serve every industry, they focused exclusively on machine tending and manufacturing, where budgets were already allocated for automation and the ROI was immediate. That focus came directly from their customer discovery conversations. Once you have market intelligence, you need a way to organize your assumptions. The business model canvas is a template that summarizes the 9 key components of a business model in a single diagram. The starting point is the value proposition. What makes your offering compelling? What features and benefits it provides, and what a minimum viable product might look like. From there, the canvas covers 3 areas. Customers, your target segments, channels to reach them, and relationships you'll build. Infrastructure, the key resources, activities, and partners you need. And finances, your cost structure and revenue streams. The canvas forces you to make your assumptions explicit. Every box is a hypothesis waiting to be tested. The original business model canvas is comprehensive, but some entrepreneurs found it too operations-focused for early-stage startups. Enter the Lean Canvas, a modified version that replaces 4 blocks. The Lean Canvas swaps out key partners, key activities, key resources, and customer relationships. In their place, it adds problem, solution, key metrics, and unfair advantage. The difference is philosophical. The BMC assumes you have a working business and asks how to organize it. The Lean Canvas assumes you have an idea and asks whether the problem is real. For early-stage customer discovery, the Lean Canvas is often more useful because it keeps the focus on the riskiest assumptions. Is the problem painful enough, and do you have a unique advantage in solving it? Harness, a CI/CD software company, shows how customer discovery reveals hidden assumptions. Founder Jyoti Bansal conducted 50 cold conversations with users outside his network. What he found was surprising. Many companies acknowledged having a pain point with software deployment, but they lacked urgency to buy a solution. Pain alone doesn't create a market. Pain plus urgency does. Harness pivoted their targeting. Instead of going after large, established organizations that were slow to change, they focused on companies actively re-architecting their applications to move to Kubernetes. These companies had a specific trigger. They needed a solution now because their migration created new deployment challenges. Harness also defined their V1 as a minimum sellable product, not just a minimum viable product. They limited their launch to 3 to 5 partners, knowing the product had major gaps, but that it provided enough value for that specific use case to generate real feedback and revenue. Now we get to the core of customer discovery. Validating that the problem you think exists actually does. The primary tool is the problem presentation, structured conversations where customers give feedback on your assumptions about their problems. The source material recommends aiming for 50 conversations. Focus on 3 things: the customer's current problems, how they solve them today, and whether your proposed solution resonates. A customer discovery scorecard helps you quantify responses. Score each conversation on multiple criteria. How severe is the problem? How urgently do they need a solution? Are they already paying for alternatives? This turns qualitative feedback into data you can compare across interviews. 50 conversations. That's the benchmark from the source material. Not 5, not 500. 50 targeted conversations with people who match your customer profile. Why 50? Because patterns start to emerge around that number. The first 10 conversations will teach you how to ask better questions. The next 20 will surface the range of answers. The last 20 will confirm whether those answers are consistent. If you hear the same story from 50 different people, you have evidence. If every conversation is different, you haven't found a pattern yet. Keep digging. Sesame, a healthcare marketplace startup, shows how lightweight customer discovery can prevent disaster. The team had a strict launch deadline, so they couldn't spend months on formal research. Instead, they conducted lightweight research every 2 weeks by talking to people in their WeWork common area. They offered $20 gift cards for 40-minute interviews. They tested paper sketches, screenshots, and Figma prototypes. Anything that could generate feedback before writing code. The result? They watched users struggle with their interface in real time. One user couldn't find the booking button, even though the team thought it was obvious. That single observation led to a redesign that took days instead of months. The team estimated that this lightweight discovery process saved them from shipping the wrong product, a mistake that would have cost far more than the $400 they spent on gift cards. Once you've validated the problem, it's time to test the solution. This happens in 3 stages. First, proof of concept, an internal, non-user-friendly test to see if the product can actually be built. This is for the team, not for customers. Second, a prototype, a working model that approximates the final product but isn't ready for customers. Prototypes are great for usability testing and solution presentations where you show customers what you're building and watch how they interact with it. Third, the minimum viable product, the simplest possible customer-ready version. The MVP is not the smallest feature set you can imagine. It's the smallest thing you can put in front of real customers that will generate meaningful learning. MVPs come in several flavors, and the right choice depends on what you're testing. A single feature MVP strips the product down to one core function. Do one thing well and test whether that's enough. A concierge MVP delivers the service manually behind the scenes, so you can learn about customer needs before building automation. A landing page MVP describes the product and measures how many people sign up. Pure demand testing without any product at all. A customer-funded MVP gets customers to pay before the product is built, which is the strongest validation signal possible. The common thread. Every MVP type is designed to maximize learning per unit of effort. If you're not learning, you're not building an MVP. You're just building slowly. Dropbox's MVP is one of the most famous examples in startup history. Drew Houston faced a classic problem. Building a file synchronization product was technically extremely difficult, and he couldn't demonstrate it without building most of it first. So he did something clever. He made a 3-minute explainer video showing how Dropbox would work. Not a prototype, not a demo, just a video of what the product would do. He posted it on Hacker News and Dig, targeting tech-savvy early adopters. The result was staggering. The waiting list went from 5,000 to 75,000 users overnight. That single video validated the core assumption: people wanted this product, without writing a line of synchronization code. The video was the MVP. It generated more learning, faster, than any prototype could have. Zappos tested the online shoe market with what's called a Wizard of Oz MVP. The customer thinks they're interacting with a finished product, but a human is doing all the work behind the scenes. Founder Nick Swinburne created a basic website with photos he took himself at local shoe stores. When a customer placed an order, Swinburne would physically go to the store, buy the shoes at full price, and ship them himself. He lost money on every transaction, but that was the point. The experiment tested the core hypothesis. Would people buy shoes online without trying them on? The answer was yes. Return rates were manageable. Customers trusted the website with their credit card information. The model was viable. Zappos proved that an MVP doesn't need to be profitable. It needs to be informative. The cost of those early manual transactions was the cheapest market research they could have done. All of this, the customer discovery, the market sizing, the canvas, the problem interviews, the MVPs, points toward one goal: product market fit. The source material puts it simply: are you satisfying the needs of a good-sized market? Product market fit is the point where your product genuinely solves a problem that enough people care about, and they're willing to pay for it. You feel it when customers are pulling the product out of your hands, when usage grows organically, when sales cycles shorten dramatically. But here's the critical insight. You don't know if you have product market fit until you test it. Every assumption on your canvas is a guess until evidence supports it. The customer discovery process is how you replace guesses with evidence. What happens when the evidence doesn't support your model? You pivot. A pivot is a structured change in direction, not a failure, but a correction based on what you've learned. The source material outlines 4 ways to bring a product to market. First, enter an existing market. Compete with known players, but differentiate on some dimension. Second, create a new market. Offer something so novel that no category exists yet. Third, resegment an existing market. Find a niche within a larger market that incumbents are ignoring. Fourth, recreate a successful model in another region. Take a proven concept and adapt it to a different geographic or demographic market. The key is to pivot based on evidence, not desperation. If your customer discovery interviews consistently show that customers care about a different problem than the one you're solving, that's a signal to pivot, not to double down. UX Pilot, a Figma plugin company, shows how a single customer conversation can trigger a pivot. During a usability session, a user asked a simple question: can I create a wireframe out of this? The founder didn't dismiss this as one person's opinion. He treated it as a signal worth investigating. He tested all existing competitors and found they were only faking wireframe generation. None of them actually worked. He spent 4 to 5 months validating technical feasibility with AI researchers before building anything. When he finally shipped, It was a partial solution using a mix of LLMs and existing techniques. It wasn't perfect, but it met a clear market gap. Today, UX Pilot generates over $5 million in annual recurring revenue, all because one user asked one question during a discovery session, and the founder had the discipline to investigate instead of ignoring it. Let's bring it all together. Customer discovery is not a one-time event, it's a mindset. 3 things to remember. First, a startup is a search, not an execution. Your job is to run experiments that reduce uncertainty, not to build the perfect product on day 1. Second, evidence beats opinion. 50 customer conversations, a scorecard, an MVP test. These generate data that replaces guesswork. The Trenner team did hundreds of interviews. Harness ran 50 cold conversations. Sesame spent $400 on gift cards. Every case study we looked at invested in learning before building. Third, be ready to pivot. The goal is product market fit, and the path is rarely a straight line. Dropbox pivoted from a product to a video. Zappos pivoted from a hypothesis to a manual process. UX Pilot pivoted from one feature to an entirely different product. The common thread: they listened to the evidence and changed course. Customer discovery is the most important thing a founder can do, and it's the most commonly skipped step. The temptation is always to build, to write code, to design features, to launch. But the startups that succeed are the ones that learn first and build second. Take the method we've covered today, the 4 stages, the build, measure, learn loop, the market sizing, the canvas, the problem interviews, the MVPs, and apply it to your own idea. Talk to 50 people. Build the smallest thing that teaches you something. Follow the evidence. That's how you find a business model that actually works.